Mount up! We're coming!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Purple Insider presented by FanDuel. Matthew Collar here following day 7 of Minnesota Vikings training camp. And today may be the day that we ultimately look back at and say, yep, that was the moment that Kyler Murray passed JJ McCarthy into being the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback. So I will get into all the details of today's practice. Also, we heard from the owner, Mark Wilf, before practice. So there's a couple interesting things that he said that I want to discuss, but I won't waste a lot of time. Let's get into the quarterback details, the highlights from today, and the additional notes, and then your questions, as always. We begin with the grid, and this time I'll read it correctly. Apologies for yesterday where I actually read it the wrong way, even though it's my grid. So today we got it right. For Kyler Murray, he completed 14 passes, had 8 incompletions, so 14 for 22. He had 7 positive throws today, 13 routine passes, and 2 negatives. So it was a big day for positive throws for Kyler Murray, and I'll take you through some of those. And I see the Vikings just put one out on Twitter if you want to take a quick look at that. A Justin Jefferson catch at the end of practice. And for JJ McCarthy, it was 13 completions, 9 incompletions, so 13 for 22. So they both had the same number of passes, but we'll get into that. And only 1 positive for JJ McCarthy and 4 negative passes, 17 routine passes, which I know sounds like a lot, but there are pass breakups that are fairly well located that I will count as a routine pass. And there are drops that I'll count as well. But just to explain how there's only 1 positive and 4 negatives and 17 routine is that the ball did not travel very far down the field for JJ McCarthy today, even in his last situational drill. So we will dive into the details of that, but just in case you're looking at that sideways, and there was a series for McCarthy where he ran 3 screen passes in a row. There were a lot of short stuff that they may have been working on with him or may have also been dictated by the defense, his decision-making, but details to come. We'll start though first with Kyler Murray and his day. What you will notice is the 20 plus. He had 3 completions, all positive throws on 3 attempts that traveled more than 20 yards. So the deep shots once again hitting for Kyler Murray, as they have for the vast majority of this training camp, which is not terribly shocking considering who his number 1 wide receiver is. And he caught one of those that was absolutely spectacular today. In terms of the intermediate, only 4 intermediate passes for Kyler Murray. He had 2 completions. Both of them were very nice throws into tight windows with good velocity. And on the short stuff, 2, 4, 6, 7 completions with 5, 6 incompletions. So it wasn't that great on the underneath stuff. There was 2 negative throws. One was a quick slant and the other one was a throw behind Josh Oliver. And there was 1 or 2 positive throws that were in red zone drills. And oftentimes if it's going to be a throw under 9 yards, and it's going to be a positive, that's when they're in the red zone tight areas and getting the ball into the end zone. Let's take a look at the highlights from Kyler Murray's day. So he took 15 of his 24 throws with the first team, and this is very important because of this particular practice. This practice here is one of the most intense that they will have, the entire summer. It might not be number 1, but it's one of them. This is a turning point type practice to where we start to get into the dog days of summer. It starts out with unpadded practices. They put the pads on, and then they had yesterday a day in shells. There's a day off tomorrow, and there will still be some stuff that comes up on the channel that's really good, by the way. So there's a day off tomorrow, and they push it really hard. It was a long practice. It goes almost until 5 o'clock. I mean, they're really going. Everybody is playing physically. We saw trash talking out there a little bit today. So it's a big practice for them for their evaluation. And Kyler Murray took the majority of the throws and the reps with the first team, including the situational drill at the end, ones versus ones, including the most intense 11 on 11. He took every one of those. And it was only in the red zone and the early part of practice on 7-on-7s when we saw JJ McCarthy work with the ones. So when I talked about earlier this week, hey, let's see what the rep counts are, the first 2 days couldn't really discern a very big difference. This is now the second time in a row where they had a practice, and then here is a very intense practice, and Kyler's taking the majority of the ones, and then it happened again. Practice, and then the third one was the majority of the first team reps for Kyler. And to have this many of the throws against the ones seems to be a pretty strong indicator of where this thing is going, as did the performance today by both quarterbacks, because on Saturday, the hardest practice that they had, that's when Kyler was at his best. And then today, this is the hardest practice they've had to date. Kyler was at his best. And it just seems to be that the lead is growing and growing in reps and in performance for Kyler Murray. So let's get into some of those details. He opened practice with a deep shot to Juwan Jennings. And let me just describe the Kyler Murray deep shot, because it is a little bit of a moon ball. I mean, it goes up in the air, but the way that this dropped into Juwan Jennings, he cleared the safety and the ball was in the air, and then he was able to run, turn his shoulder, look up, reach out, NFL Films style, right perfectly in the midst as he was reaching out to make the grab without losing a single step of velocity as he was clearing the safeties to make this play. Just one of those big time touchdown passes, probably traveled about 35 yards in the air with an arc that dropped right out of the sky and into his hands. It happened kind of again, not too long from then. This was in 2s versus 1s, where they had the starting safeties in, and speaks a little bit to Ty Felton, who's made a play every single day in this training camp. Has not been perfect, but has made at least one Ty Felton type of play every single day. And there was another very similar deep shot where Felton, as he's getting past the safeties, the ball's up in the air, he tracks it down for a long touchdown. And then at the end of practice, there was a Kyler Murray jump ball to Justin Jefferson, which we are very familiar with the ways of Justin Jefferson on a deep ball. And this one he had to turn around for, maybe you'd say take a step back toward the football, but this is what he wants. This is the greatest receiver at going up and getting the football, and he absolutely mossed Isaiah Rodgers. It's on Twitter. The Vikings posted it. This is exactly what Justin Jefferson wants from his quarterback. Give him a chance to go up and get the football. And the way that Murray throws it with an arc on it, he was able to turn around, find the football, high point it, go back, grab it, bang, to end the practice for Kyler Murray. It was about as good as you could have asked for. I didn't include here, but he had also a couple of bullets that were into tight coverage over the middle of the field, where I thought he struggled in some other practices, but was much sharper today. And then what we saw for the first time since Kyler Murray has been practicing, we saw the legs. So there was a play where he scrambled in between some guys, and you could say, well, would it have been a sack? We're talking about it. And I think the answer with Kyler Murray was no. And it was more of things crashing around him, and he sort of quick accelerated, found his guy, completed a pass going to his left. And then in the situational drill, which is where it's kind of like man in the arena and everybody's watching, he took off on third down, and it was fast and got to the edge and beat someone to the edge for a first down. And that's the type of stuff that Kyler Murray brings to your football team that the Minnesota Vikings have not had really since Dante Culpepper, to see someone who on a third and short situation can take off, scramble, get that first down, and then give himself an opportunity to hit Justin Jefferson. The low lights were not that many. I mean, there were only 2 negative throws that he had. This was an overall pretty darn good practice for Kyler Murray. He had a 7-on-7 underneath throw to Josh Oliver that was just behind. It was not well timed. And then there was a slant route that just flew over his receiver's head. It was an inaccurate throw. But those were the only 2 negative throws that I had from Kyler Murray. And there were routine ones where maybe, hey, he checked one down that from my angle looked like you might have been able to hit Justin Jefferson on that route between a couple defenders, but he chose to go with the check down. I haven't gone with negatives and positives for throws that you don't make, only judging the throws that you do, but figured I would add that in as one that I noticed of, maybe Jefferson was there on that play and he chose to go underneath to the running back. But there was a lot of stuff today that was fairly simple for Kyler Murray. There's no signs from my vantage point and in the completion percentages or anything else that he is struggling to get the offense down. And I also think that if you're Kevin O'Connell watching him throw these balls down the field successfully, you're thinking, well. Now everything can't be that way for Kyler Murray in the regular season, but I think that he's well aware that Kevin O'Connell does want to go down the field. So 3 big completions down the field for Kyler Murray today. Almost, I shouldn't say all the first team reps, but all the consequential first team reps, the one that we really study. And after this day off, I'm curious if we start to see the passes, the total passes, because McCarthy got the same number of total passes today, yesterday. It was very close 2 days ago. If that starts to shift toward, we see Kyler Murray taking all the 1s and all the 2s for a lot of the segments of practice into the future. And then we will pretty well have our answer, and it would not be a shock. Now, I predicted that it would be before the preseason game that Kevin O'Connell would make the announcement, but it would not be a shock if before Sunday nights, I think it's Sunday night, the night practice, if we end up getting, it's Sunday night practice, that we end up getting an announcement. Things could change into next week. You never know what could happen. But when now the totality of the first 7 days of Vikings practice has Kyler Murray leaning with a lot more first team reps totally and a lot better performance as we get into JJ McCarthy. He's had a couple of examples of good practices so far, but I don't think he's had one that's come close to what Kyler Murray did today. Today he had 9 throws with the first team, and he did finish successfully the situational drill. It was a lot of short passes, but it doesn't matter whether it's short or long. Like, he did the right things and got them into field goal position, 2s versus 2s, which is a good job. And he also had another long throw along the sideline in 7-on-7 that was in between 2 converging defenders. And I would say all of JJ McCarthy's, or almost all of his best throws in this camp, have been to the boundaries and with great velocity and timing and accuracy. And he had another one of those today. The low lights, I want to call, unfortunately, the slow lights for JJ McCarthy, because there were too many throws in this practice and have been too many throws in a lot of the practices where the clock in your head is just not like it's 1, 2, is the ball coming out? Maybe it is. Okay, now it got to somebody underneath. And as you saw from the grid, there just weren't a lot of passes. Oh, I'm sorry. This is his highlights. Did I show you I haven't showed you his grid yet. I'll show you the grid after the highlights. But as we'll look at his grid, there's just a lot of things that did not get past the line of scrimmage. And some of that was because they were running swing passes and screens with him with the first and second team. But even when it was 7-on-7, there just was not a lot pushed down the field, and hasn't been for this entire camp. And there was also a play, 2s versus 2s, I think, that demonstrated just the slow lights, which was an intermediate throw with a clean pocket that looked like he was late on throwing to a wide open receiver over the middle. It ends up behind him significantly, can't reach back to make the catch. There's another one where he has a totally clean pocket and waits and then throws to Justin Jefferson, but the ball gets tipped and Jefferson can't get back to get it. Just asking around, are other people seeing what I'm seeing? Do we think that this has looked worse for JJ McCarthy than either of his last 2 camps? And the answer I've gotten from everybody is pretty much yes. And you start to wonder at this point, is it more about confidence for JJ McCarthy than it is maybe trying not to make a mistake or whatever, that he can't actually get it done, because I don't think it's knowledge of the offense. I do think that there are always timing issues with JJ McCarthy. I haven't seen, there was a touch pass that he attempted today, but did not go complete. And I couldn't tell if it was a good enough pass to even give his receiver a chance. But you could tell he kind of tried to float it up over a defender and it just didn't really get there on time. So there has not been, through 7 days, and it's a very short time, enough progress to say that this should carry on a whole lot longer. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it after today. I thought this was a really, really big practice to see the reps, to see the performances. The pads are on. Everybody's active almost. I think everybody on the defensive side was active. Jordan Addison was not able to practice, but everybody was out there, and it just was very clearly Kyler as QB1. Thank you so much, Demad, for the super chat. Always appreciate a super chat. Though not required, I will read your comments throughout the season and the summer, no matter what. Let's look at his grid, though. Sorry, usually I look at the grid first, but let's look at the grid. So you can see the one long pass over 20 yards, but then also had a negative deep throw as well that just flew over, I think it was Justin Jefferson's head, just airmailed. And the intermediate stuff, he was 2 for 5 today with 2 negative throws and no positive throws. When it's intermediate, if the person is wide open and it's a very routine and you could just drop back and hit them, then usually don't count that as a positive. Any completion in 10 to 19 overall is positive, but we're looking for kind of a little bit of next level of tight window or something like that. And then you could see all the short passes from 0 to 9, where you have 10 passes completed under 10 yards, and 3 passes incompleted to go along with no real positives in the red zone or any of the short passes that would have stood out, and 1 negative play. So it wasn't like McCarthy, I mean, when you get 22 throws and you only have 3 negatives, like it wasn't like he was a disaster and just throwing near picks all the time or anything like that. He wasn't lost out there. He completed a fair number of passes. It just was not a practice that you felt like it was on time. He was locked in. He was delivering darts left and right. It just really wasn't like that. It was kind of more of the same of, it just doesn't look like you expect it to look for a starting quarterback for JJ McCarthy. So I don't want to say that the quarterback competition is over, because the person who will decide is Kevin O'Connell. And at some point, he had told us that he will come to a podium and he will stand there and he will say, Kyler Murray's our starting quarterback. But what I had said previously was that we will start to get a sense, based on how the reps go and based on how the performances go, of this thing before it gets announced. And today was that day. And after Saturday and the good practice that happened, last Saturday, I was thinking, all right, well, if O'Connell makes a concerted effort to swing this thing back and get JJ McCarthy enough first team reps to kind of even it out, then maybe we'll start having that conversation that maybe it's close, right? That didn't happen. The needle just went farther toward Kyler Murray today, and the performances were also reflective of it. And I mean, again, not over until somebody says officially it's over. But I think that if you were hanging on to McCarthy's corner and you thought, hey, he's going to win this, he's going to outperform Kyler Murray, he has been given every opportunity to do so. He's been given a ton of first team reps. He's been given a ton of passes, as many passes, actual throws, as Kyler Murray. And Murray has simply, through 7 days, outplayed him, and it's not particularly close. I mean, if this was 9 holes of golf, you would probably say that, or even there's been 7 days. 7 days, so 7 holes of golf, you would say that, JJ McCarthy was maybe 2 or 3 over, and Kyler Murray was probably like 4 or 5 under. I mean, it's been a pretty good start for Kyler Murray to his Vikings career at practice. Or maybe you'd put it as Kyler Murray's like 2 under. Like, he's not blowing away the field. He's not birdieing every hole. Yeah, let's do it more accurately. If we're going to make a golf metaphor, it's important to me. Maybe like 1 or 2 under for Kyler Murray. He's done what a starting quarterback would do in Kevin O'Connell's offense in practice, and JJ McCarthy's like 5 over. That's kind of how I would look at it, is that Murray has not blown anybody's socks off, but he's been very good in the two most important practices. And then JJ McCarthy has struggled in both of them. So that would be like your par fives or something, and double bogey versus a routine birdie. Because I routinely birdie every par five, right? Let's go through the other notes today. And then I have a couple of things from Mark Wilf, and then a question that I had for Wes Phillips. So no Jordan Addison today. Kevin O'Connell came out before practice and announced that there was a small injury to Jordan Addison with his thumb, and it was just sore, and they did some imaging on it, and they've checked it out and made sure that it is not going to be any type of long-term injury, but they did not want him to practice today to potentially further bang up his thumb. So he was not out there today. Ty Felton, as I mentioned, took over. Justin Jefferson got a lot of the targets. Felton made a big play deep. Jawan Jennings was pretty well involved in the practice as well with Jordan Addison absent. And I don't know that Felton took every single rep with the first team, but he took a lot of them. And Jashawn Jones also had a good practice as well. On the defensive side, Jake Golday got more work with the ones at outside linebacker and inside linebacker. There is reason to start getting intrigued with Jake Golday, because if in a practice like today, with this level of intensity, this heat out there, this importance to the quarterback evaluation, everything else, and Golday is mixing in with the inside and outside linebacker group with the first team, I mean, that's a pretty darn good sign for where he is headed. Also, wanted to point out Elijah Williams, who just really stood out to me today. He got work with the ones a little bit, got a lot of work with the twos, and he was pushing the pocket. He was playing, it looked to me like pretty darn well against the run game. He is such a big guy. Having him stand next to Caleb Banks, and he's not Caleb Banks' height, but I was looking at the two of them going, Elijah Williams is a big dude too. So they had those two on the field at times. I was very impressed with Levi Drake Rodriguez, as I have been all summer long. I think that if they had to play today, and this might actually be the case when the season starts, I think Levi Drake Rodriguez is your nose tackle. I think it's going to be Caleb Banks, Levi Drake Rodriguez, and Jalen Redmond based on what we've seen to this point. And then Dominique Orange will be more of a rotating in type guy, and we'll see how the rest of the room plays out. But that's, if they started today, how it would go. And Levi Drake just keeps getting better, man. They have a tendency to find some of these guys late rounds, day 3 recently. Levi Drake is one of them. Charles Demings was involved again today. If you want to talk about confidence, Charles Demings, holy cow. He had a PBU on Justin Jefferson and pumped up the crowd. And I mean, you would have thought, he said that he treats every practice like the Super Bowl. He absolutely did today, but he spent all the time with the twos since they had their starting corners out there today, or at least most, the vast majority of the time. But every single day, the guy makes plays. His athleticism is on display, his aggressiveness, his confidence. I mean, he has the cornerback personality that you're looking for, with the cockiness, but also, from what everyone has said, is putting in all the work and all the details. And I was watching him do one-on-ones with wide receivers, and the handwork, shooting the hands, playing physical. There's a lot of detail going into it. So, I don't know that he'll be in line to have a role right away, but if there's an injury, like, he's a fascinating player who could get on the field pretty quickly. Better running today. There was one that really stood out where they ran over the left side with Jordan Mason. No, I'm not good enough to know if that scheme was different than last year. I suspect that it's all base plays right now with the fans in the stands being able to video it. But, what you're looking for is the connectivity of the offensive line. Are they ripping off some big runs? And they had one today with Jordan Mason. I thought just a little more push, but there was a run play totally blown up by Jamal Adams where we got a pad popping. Now, there's no hitting and tackling, but there is running into each other hard. And that's what happened with Jamal Adams. So a little burst, a little quickness there. Also, Damon Claiborne got a handful of plays and looked very quick on one of them where he kind of had to get small through a window and kind of made himself tight and got in between some defenders and escaped Very nice looking run, agility, acceleration on display there. And then Dallas Turner also had a quick sack today. Might have been a blitz or miscommunication, but all of a sudden the snap is taken and Dallas Turner is right in the face of the quarterback. He has looked, to me, pretty darn physical and pretty darn good so far in this camp. So, okay, let's get to the sound and then we'll get to your reaction. It feels like things have turned a corner for Kyler Murray today. We'll get your thoughts on that and any other questions. Like, I've been taking a lot of notes on a lot of different players. So your thoughts or big picture stuff is also welcome as well. But I had a chance to ask Wes Phillips a question about Kyler Murray. So I want to bring you that, and then we'll hear from Mark Wilf as well.
Wes, there's a lot of roots of this offense with under center quarterbacking. Just with Kyler, how do you feel like he fits with that? The under center, a lot of the schemes that go all along with it.
I think you want to be conscious of the fact that if a guy's not comfortable under center, but what we've seen so far is that Kyler is very comfortable playing any which way you want him to play football. He's been very comfortable. We have been mixing in some gun, some pistol, like a lot of teams are doing. It's just and for different reasons. Certain defenses, they have gun checks, under checks. Does pistol put them into their gun check, or do they treat that as under? Just presents some different looks and different angles for the defense. If as long as we can master it. But it's been fun. It's been fun to change up, a little bit. Some under, some gun, some different ways of running the football from under, from gun. It's been a lot of fun this camp.
If you couldn't hear the question because I sounded like an alien on that audio, I asked him about Kyler playing under center, and very good answer there from Wes Phillips, but also revealing about the run game and the offensive design that they are putting in when they're talking about pistol and gun and those things. And pistol has never been a part really of Kevin O'Connell's offense, but they're putting it in now with Kyler Murray on the team. I mean, look, they had to prepare as if Kyler was going to be the starter. I think we always knew that. And then we needed to see how this would play out. Again, not calling it yet, but even when you hear things like that, like there's excitement there, legitimate excitement on Wes Phillips's face to talk about, oh yeah, we're actually putting some things in the pistol and the run game off of it, and getting different indicators from the opposing team and everything else. Which, some of that also comes probably from Frank Smith in Miami as well, but doesn't seem like much concern about Kyler from under center. I know that people had talked about that a bit, even though he did it a fair amount in 2024, but adding a pistol element to this offense is a little bit different. Okay, so Mark Wilf, owner of the Minnesota Vikings, spoke with us today, and there were two things that stood out that come up quite often when we're talking about the Wilf ownership. And one, of course, is the status of the head coach. So Mark Wilf commented on Kevin O'Connell.
It's all, we evaluate everything in the totality. And like I said, where Coach O'Connell has brought this entire building and this team to now, we're extremely pleased, and we look forward to great things from Coach.
Off that point, Mark, it's been a while now since you obviously bought the team, and there's been a lot of success in the regular season. Beyond Kevin O'Connell, what is the patience like, or the frustration like? That I don't think you've been to back-to-back playoffs since, 08, 09, and there have not been playoff runs aside from a couple. What's the expectation? What's the frustration that has not paid off from the regular season success that the Wilfs have experienced here?
Well,
oh, wait, hold on. I got the answer here.
Ultimately, it's about more, not just playoff wins, but championships. And that is the ultimate measure. We know that. We try to be patient as an ownership, and that's what that we know is the ultimate success. But of course, patience isn't infinite. We understand that, but I feel really good about the direction of this football club, and we're going to get those benchmarks checked off here.
Patience isn't infinite that's a line. Did Kendrick Lamar write that? That's pretty fire, actually. Sometimes these guys back their way into, like when Kirk said it's not about the dollars, it's what the dollars represent. I'm like, dude, I'm doing a rap song about that. And Patience is Not Infinite is my album. The whole rap album is going to be that. But, based on what he said, one thing is pretty clear. And he talked about Nolan Teasley being very happy with the hiring process and seeing the results that he expected right off the bat from Nolan Teasley, and how he's worked with Kevin O'Connell and all that sort of stuff. And also filling out the front office and going after some of the people that they really wanted. All those things involved is that the operation part of it, they are very happy with Kevin O'Connell. And the reality about being an NFL head coach is that you have thousands of things to do every year. You have all sorts of people who report to you that you manage. You have every position coach, special teams, defense. And I know that Flores is deeply involved in that, but O'Connell is still the head coach, right? And you have roster decisions, and you have the draft, and you have all these people who work in the building, in PR and in marketing and in sales and in all sorts of things, right? And the owner wants the head coach to have all that stuff operate really smoothly, and wants a great front door to the franchise, and wants all those people pulling in the same direction. And it's on the head coach to make sure that that happens. And Kevin O'Connell has been remarkably good at managing all those things that would probably make all of our brains collapse. And that matters. It matters that players are happy. It matters that employees are happy. I mean, you've seen some of the bad cultures of the National Football League that start with the head coach. And that is not, of course, Kevin O'Connell in any way, shape, or form. So what I take away is that patience, of course, is going to happen here, and that there was no sort of message that, hey, you better turn things around from last year or it's going to be kaput. But patience isn't infinite, so they can't wait around forever. But I think that says, when I get the question, is O'Connell on the hot seat? I get the sense that the owners really think this works with this coach, and they want to continue. They like the way that things function and believe that it will result in winning in the playoffs eventually. But cannot wait around forever. But I would not say, based on that I felt like Mark Wilf was sending any type of message to Kevin O'Connell. It was more like, we really like the direction that this is all going at this moment. And there have been other years from Mark Wilf that you definitely felt a tone. I know that he has, his answers, and he's the owner of the team, so he's not Jerry Jones. He's not going to come out and be like, oh yeah, make the playoffs or it's over, bucko. Like, that's not Mark Wilf. He's, very professional in the way that he approaches the podium in his interviews, but you can often read between the lines, and I don't think that they're satisfied with what happened last year, or the fact that Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl, or that they're first-round quarterbacks in a competition. But I think that what we're getting the sense of is Flores O'Connell is one of the best coaching connections in the NFL. They spent a lot to keep Brian Flores. They spent a lot on Kevin O'Connell. He's not going to throw it out there that you better make the playoffs or you're out. So I think that was pretty well covered there by Mark Wilf. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you a FanDuel question of the day. I'm going to present you with a couple of our great sponsors, and then it is on to your questions and comments and reactions to a potential turning point here in the summer. So FanDuel question of the day is this. Kyler Murray is plus 600 to win comeback player of the year. I'm not sure. Well, I guess he is coming back from a foot injury that kept him out far longer than the foot injury should have. But plus 600 is the second best odds on FanDuel. If he's named the starter next week, what would you like to see for the rest of training camp? What do you want to hear that Kyler Murray is doing for the rest of camp if he is indeed named the starter fairly soon? And I want to tell you about my friends at Brooklyn Betting. I'm going to tell you the truth. I have some back issues sometimes. And if I have a mattress that doesn't work for me, you know the feeling. It's not very good. But with Brooklyn Betting, as soon as we got our new mattress, totally changed. I felt so much better. And I think it's the craftsmanship. Their mattresses are cost effective, but built with long-term durability in mind. Right here in the USA, it's not a mass-produced or disposable type mattress. It's solid, intentional, built to last. And that type of craftsmanship is showing up in the results. We switched to what's called the Aurora Luxe mattress from Brooklyn Betting, and now the spine feels good, and I'm able to get to sleep where I was really struggling before I got this mattress. So what I like about Brooklyn Betting is that we got exactly what we wanted, and all sizes, all shapes, whatever it is that you're looking for, they will be able to accommodate. And if we didn't like it and the back was still hurting, they also have a 120 night comfort trial, so you could swap it or return the mattress hassle-free. So go to brooklynbetting.com and use my promo code PURPLE at checkout. You get 30% off, 30%, brooklynbetting.com/purple for their back to school sale. And also, when a company like that goes the extra mile, well, it really sticks with you and really makes you believe in them, right? Well, the same thing happens when you are hiring. If you use ZipRecruiter, you can find the best candidates that really stand out, really want your job, and it means something to them. So right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. And they have a new feature that shows you the most interested candidates and qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. They have powerful matching technology that gets you the qualified candidates, and they tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. So there's no shock that ZipRecruiter is the number one rated hiring site. Try ZipRecruiter, meet great candidates who will go the extra step for your job. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free, ziprecruiter.com/audio, and meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Okay, on to your questions and comments and thoughts on Kyler Murray turning a corner here, and anything else too. I mean, if you've got a random player you want to ask about, feel free. Let's start with Unknown Army. Says, is it crazy to think Dante Fleming may be passing Dylan Bell for that last roster spot on the depth chart? I don't think it's crazy by any means, but I also think that they'll probably keep 5, and then the other guys will be on the practice squad. We have not seen a lot of Dylan Bell. I mean, he made a couple of catches early before pads came on, but the opportunities for someone like Dylan Bell are going to happen during the preseason. That's when he's going to get his shot. These practices have been a lot of 1s and 2s, and Fleming has mixed in and made plays. And I would also say that there's been a couple other guys like Jashawn Jones who have made a lot of plays as well that would be more in line if they were going to keep 6 wide receivers. My guess is 5, and then there will be practice squad and Fleming, and I think Jashawn Jones would be number 6 right now, and then it would be Dante Fleming after that. The thing about players like Jones and Fleming is that they don't really play special teams. And if you don't have a special teams role like Ty Felton and Miles Price do, then it's hard for them to keep you on a roster if you're not going to be one of the top 3 wide receivers, because those 3 top wide receivers aren't playing special teams, and you need punt gunners and you need guys to run down and make tackles. I don't know if Fleming and Jones are the type of guys that are going to be able to do that. And I think Bell is pretty well targeted for the practice squad, but he's got an opportunity to make plays. It just seems like it would be a bit of a stretch for him to make it now. I shot you 99. Do you think that it's a possibility the Vikings could look elsewhere at quarterback at this point in training camp, like Baker Mayfield? No, I think that they should be happy with what Kyler Murray is doing. I think that these practices have indicated to me that Kyler Murray is pretty comfortable with this offense. And I would just like to go back to all the other camps I've covered. I mean, I can't remember a camp where it was day 7 and we were saying, oh my God, this is the best quarterback ever. Like, they're still learning the offense and making adjustments and finding out what quarterbacks like. Even with the famed Sam Bradford training camp, I don't know if it was the first 5 days that we started kind of losing our minds. It was as the summer progressed, and that was the same thing for Sam Darnold. It was as the summer progressed. I'm sure if you went back to my live stream after 5 real practices, and maybe it's more like 3 that are super intense, if I was saying, guys, Darnold's about to win 14 games, it really wasn't until later on in the summer that we started to get that sense. So I think Kyler Murray is right on par with other quarterbacks that we've seen, probably ahead of where Kirk was when he first learned this offense. And then it started to come together later in the summer as well. We just weren't having a quarterback competition, so we weren't evaluating every single pass to the finest detail. But I mean, if you're talking Kyler Murray versus Baker Mayfield, I mean, I think they're about even as far as quarterbacks go. I mean, Baker's probably had the higher single season which was when he threw for 4,500 yards, but Kyler's 2021 was pretty good. I don't see any reason to do something like that to get a new quarterback when we've already got a Kyler at home. I shot you 99. Vikings TW says, someone on Twitter said Chuck is frustrating Jefferson. I guess the Vikings would be due to hit on a corner later in the draft. Deming's athleticism and physicality have really stood out. And yes, that's probably the play that somebody said that about, where he had that I highlighted earlier, where he had a pass breakup, and then Jefferson seemed pretty annoyed that he was pumping up the crowd, and his confidence could only be a cornerback in all of pro sports. Someone who takes it to this level could only be a defensive back, but he certainly has it. And I think what he has too is maybe some leeway from the referees not throwing flags on his physicality, but if you look up his performance at the NFL Combine, you are seeing maybe the most athletic corner that the Vikings have had since Xavier Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes, I mean, freak, right? Just total freak. Like his size, his length, his bendiness, I mean, his ability to play the football, insanity, like a true elite number one corner. But since then, have they had anyone that had a freakishness physically to them? I mean, Chuck Demings was disappointed when he jumped 42 inches in the air because he said he was dealing with some knee soreness the day of the combine. I mean, this guy is really, really athletic. One of the most athletic players at that position in a good year for corners, I thought, in the draft. So we're seeing someone that may have slipped through the cracks. Also, it is, early in training camp still, but every single day, the guy makes plays, and I just can't remember the last time a day 3 corner or an undrafted corner or any corner that they drafted looked like this. Andrew Booth Jr. was a 2nd-round draft pick, and Cam Dantzler was a 3rd-round draft pick. Jeff Gladney was a 1st-rounder. We didn't have this sense for any of those guys that they were making this many plays against the top players on this team. So, yeah, Deming's really, really standing out. Jim says, was today a full go for all who were able? Yeah, it was. Yeah, everybody except for Addison was out there. I didn't pick up on anyone else missing practice. Dominique Orange worked slowly back in. He had missed the other day, so he wasn't taking maybe as many reps as he possibly could. Saw a lot of other guys in there instead, but he was active for this practice, and everybody else was out there because there's no, substation or whatever they have in San Francisco. Madden says, so both of them have a good day means Murray is way ahead. Was that your takeaway? Like that both of them had a good day? I did not think that it was a good day for JJ McCarthy. I had 1 positive throw, 4 negatives, and a lot of underneath stuff. So I don't know that was the takeaway. But, I do think that a lot of people are maybe still holding out some hope. It's just that this thing seems to be going clearly in the direction that we thought it was going to go. Bumaclot says, sorry if I got that wrong. Leonard Floyd, Ryan Pace drafted him. Ryan Nielsen was his DC in Atlanta. Okay, and he was with KOC. No, you're right about that. And I've been on the side of them bringing in Leonard Floyd at some point. It would be a little surprising if they rolled with Tyler Batty and Bo Richter. I think that they like those guys and they're special teamers and their depth, but they need someone who can be Dallas Turner. They really, really like Ty Ingram Dawkins. I mean, the way that things are going for Ty Ingram Dawkins, I think he's going to play a ton. But I do also believe that you need a veteran pure pass rusher because Ingram Dawkins is more of maybe unpolished as a pass rusher, great athlete, great size, but I don't know that he's going to have the quickness and bendiness to be a pure pass rusher, which I think you could get with someone like Leonard Floyd. So I would definitely advocate. That's kind of been my favorite candidate for that, but Floyd might not want to play. He might also have other offers. Like we don't really know. And I guess we'll find out as the summer goes along. He could also just be waiting for the rest of the summer until he doesn't have to come to practice every single day and just picks up the defense when he gets here. Matt says I'd be trading JJ mid-season if Kyler is still healthy. I think that what I would be doing is just waiting, just letting this play out and seeing where they're at as this goes through the rest of the summer and how JJ adapts and starts to pick it up, and or if he does start to pick it up through the rest of the summer. If they do name Kyler Murray the starting quarterback soon, then how he deals with that setback, because he's still going to be in practice and he's still going to be preparing to be potentially quarterback 2. But if he does not shine in practice, then he might end up being quarterback 3, because I think Carson Wentz has looked fine, if not good. He threw a pass today to a guy, Michael Briscoe, who's about as low on the roster as it gets. Imagine being this guy, a third teamer that's just hoping to maybe get a chance on the practice squad. And Wentz threw an absolute dime to this guy. Bang, like 20 yards down the field. And I thought, these third teamers, man, they'll never get a better backup than this. But Wentz has looked sharp. So if JJ does end up as QB2 soon, he's going to have to still earn it. And then if he loses out on the job to Wentz, I don't know that there's any desire around the league to trade for JJ McCarthy. So it would kind of depend, but I wouldn't be shocked if they start the season as QB3. If someone gets hurt around the NFL, he could be potentially traded, or they could just say, we're going to continue to develop him. If they love the way he's approached this, if they love the attitude, if it's just hasn't clicked yet and hasn't set in, but they want to continue to see where it goes, well, that wouldn't surprise me either. And I wouldn't overreact to the way it's gone over the first 7 days and say, get him out of here. I would just say that you've got a backup, you've got another guy can play, and McCarthy should continue to work on his craft every single day. I've been saying this since they signed Kyler Murray. It could be the best thing for JJ McCarthy, but he has to make it the best thing that happened to JJ McCarthy, and that's going to happen through the rest of the summer. Disappointed, not mad Suns fan says, if you really read the chat, name your top 3 favorite Vikings fullbacks of all time. Well, okay. CJ Ham, Zach Line, and Jerome Felton would be pretty easy. 1, 2, 3. If you go back in time, then you get Jim Kleinsaucer, but I consider him more of a tight end. And you could go back to, why am I blanking on their 90s fullback? You guys can help me with that one. But you go way back in the day, and like, is Ted Brown a running back or a fullback? They used to call running backs fullbacks, and they would split the carries and stuff like that. So there's been some good ones through the years. Jerome Felton was fantastic in front of Adrian Peterson. Joker says, how good is this Chuck Demings guy? Elite size and athleticism plus doing what the coaches tell you to do is a very good combination. He looks good in pads. You can't teach that. You know what I say about this. Like, we're always going to evaluate players from a starting point based on draft status. But once they're here, they're Minnesota Vikings, and I don't do that. Like, I don't care. I just look at what they do on the actual practice field, because we've seen Stephon Diggs turn into a star. We've seen Adam Thielen turn into a star. And once you've seen that, you go, well, draft status doesn't mean a thing once you're out on the actual field. And that's how I feel about Demings. As of right now, he is the cornerback number 4, and he is in his very first year showing a ton of confidence and a ton of aggressiveness and a ton of athleticism every single day. Playmakers on the football don't just sort of show up out of absolutely nowhere. It does not happen. Even in practices, there are certain guys who have a nose for making plays. And what often it takes is a spring in your step, physical play, anticipation. There's just a rare trait that goes into it. And that's why during draft time, I'm usually saying, hey, draft a productive player. And I remember looking at this with Demings. Yes, he was playing at Stephen F. Austin, but there was some stat that I had that it was like 1 every 5 or 6 targets last year was either a pass breakup or an interception. Like, this guy has a nose for the football and is capable of making a lot of plays. And if he came in with great athleticism, but no technique and no work ethic or whatever, but he also seems very intelligent about football and really has the right attitude toward every day. Like, he is grinding super hard on this. You watch every rep in his warm-ups. I've watched him out there warming up and doing his one-on-ones. I mean, he's just a competitor. So as of right now, I would say that he is like, just how good can he be? I don't know. I mean, he could be a starting NFL corner potentially. He's got a lot of boxes that he checks, but I also don't want to go absolutely nuts and start saying the next Darrelle Revis is here when it's only been a couple of actual practices. But he's certainly checking all the boxes that look like someone who could be a starter in the future. I don't think this is just sort of like a random, oh, okay, well, it's like a cute little training camp story. It is definitely more than that for Chuck Demings. Bryson says, how would you feel about us trading a 5th round or later pick for a running back? We're one injury away from roster bubble players. I would be on board for something like that. I don't love and did not love previously the idea of trading away draft capital for veteran players that don't move the needle a lot more than younger players. I do think that Xavier Scott is probably underappreciated because last year was so miserable. We forgot everything. But he had to step in a couple of times and made some plays, had that great catch against the Steelers. I could see him being a pass protector at times. But yeah, and Damon Claiborne is a fascinating prospect where we saw him today and the way that he moves. I mean, this guy is super, super quick. But you are right, though, that if they did have an injury at running back, they do not have someone who can even really take a RB2 type of performance. I mean, so I wouldn't be shocked if they look at that when it comes to the trade deadline or even the cut down. Young Cringe, it's safe to say that McCarthy is a bigger bust than Ponder. Ponder had nearly 3 seasons. Yes, he has more talent, but played more and better. What do you think? I don't really want to go quite that far down that road at the moment. Like, there's so far to go in JJ McCarthy's career. I think that if McCarthy does not become the starter and they trade him away to the Arizona Cardinals and he doesn't play well there, like, we know the whole picture on Christian Ponder, but he will probably enter the ballpark of somebody like a Blaine Gabbert or EJ Manuel and Christian Ponder in terms of similar performance and then never really took the next step. But I also don't want to go anywhere close to declaring that on this day. Like, we are August 5th. The season hasn't started yet. The camp is nowhere close to being over. But if it goes in this direction and it regresses and he's not standing out at camp and they decide they're just going to move on, then yes, it would go, I think, because Christian Ponder at least had a moment where he had a great game against the Green Bay Packers to get the Vikings into the playoffs in, was that 2012 when Adrian ran for 2,000 yards? At least he operated that game efficiently that they needed and got them into the playoffs. So he had a moment. I don't know that there were any real moments here. The win over Detroit was exciting, but Detroit didn't even make the playoffs. And they also lost to Max Brosmer later in the season. Yeah, I mean, at this moment, it's been pretty tough. It's been a very tough ride for JJ McCarthy. And as we go along in these practices, if we don't see much more improvement, we are going to start having that discussion. It's just that I never like to declare it over because we've seen other quarterbacks turn it around. But just historically speaking, it usually takes a while. With someone like Bryce Young, who has turned it around to some extent with Carolina, it's the number 1 overall draft pick and had a really, really bad team with Carolina that they're now building up. But McCarthy has not had that be the case here. Bryson, when JJ was coming out, he had a hard time throwing to a certain part of the field. Have you noticed improvement in that? Sadly, I just haven't noticed improvement in a whole lot of any area. Autumn Voyage, I know running back is a tough evaluation to padded practice, but I heard Mason looks a lot quicker and shiftier. Yes, I would totally agree. I was impressed by him last year for a guy his size and how he moves, but cutting down a little bit is definitely something that has helped him in his quickness, and it's noticeable how quick he's turning. Jody, is Kyler's fumble not a low light? No. I mean, okay, well, I shouldn't say it this way like everyone saw it. Kyler ran, scrambled, and got like 15 yards, And as he was slowing down as the play was over, he's holding the ball out and someone slaps it from his hands. At least that's how I saw it. So no, that would not be a low light. But, just talking about the throws that JJ McCarthy is making, it really hasn't changed from day one in terms of what throws he was capable of making and what he did in the games. As you saw from last year, he threw a lot of strong passes that went to the boundary where he could really let it rip. And the over the middle, the anticipation stuff, the seeing the field stuff has just continued to be a struggle. And now he's not really even being aggressive. Super Henry, how was Claiborne? I thought Claiborne in a couple of runs was very impressive, but it was only, one or two where he slithered and he accelerated quickly. But it was good to see him get a lot of work today because he did miss practice early in the week. Our Boz asked about the D line, and I think that the D line has been pretty interesting to start this portion, at least, because if Levi Drake Rodriguez, who, was a late round draft pick, but so was Harrison Phillips, he's just reminding me a lot of Harrison Phillips, where he is very strong. He's not Caleb Banks size, but he might be at like 310. I mean, he's only 6'2", 6'3", and is very low to the ground and powerful. And he's been doing a really good job so far in these practices. And then you add Jalen Redmond to it, who we know can play. We see Tyan Gribb-Dawkins getting a ton of work with the first team. Like, they've got my attention. I think that they've been, if we were doing winners and losers of the first 7 days of practice, I think that the young defensive tackles have been some of the winners. Caleb Banks getting out there. I watched a couple of reps of his, did not have a noticeable win right away. He's going to need a pretty big adjustment as he goes along. So I'm being very patient on that. And with Dominique Orange, like, the size stands out, the power stands out. He hasn't had a ton of reps with pads on though yet, just a couple today. So I want to see those. But I think that even from the guys who were here, Elijah Williams and Levi Drake Rodriguez, like, this team's been pretty good at finding some guys, and they look pretty good. Bryson, how do I go about asking questions in interviews? You mean like in press conferences? I would say that you try to get it out in the most clear way, because there's like a AC machine and there's planes going over the top of you. So I just try to get out what I'm asking as fast as I possibly can and as loud as I possibly can, and concise and straightforward, so somebody understands the question. And I hope I did that to Wes Phillips today. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, asking questions at press conferences, and there's no real great way to do it. Sometimes they really get your question and they give you a great answer, and sometimes there could be some confusion or it's not. Bryson, has Dylan Bell done anything? If so, what's the potential you'd say he has low end number 2? At this moment, I can't say that. No, I can't say that he has potential low end number 2 ceiling. I would say ceiling would be making a team at this moment. Change my mind. At the moment would be a wide receiver 4 or 5. I have not seen lightning the way that it kind of looked like when the pads weren't off and it was in shorts during minicamp. There's a little bit of jolt to him, but it doesn't stand out when we're seeing Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson running routes out there. But he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity. So that's what he needs, is preseason opportunity to start making a name for himself. But we always say, beware of kind of the minicamp guy that really jumps out, because he hasn't gotten much chance yet to do something there. Demad Ty Felton, showing his abilities today, is his wide receiver 4 along with special teams. I think there's no question about it, is that he is wide receiver 4 right now, and that they would trust him to step up if somebody got hurt. I mean, Felton is a high intelligence type of player who has been clearly improving. And the only issue I've seen is that he's dropped some routine passes early in camp, but I haven't seen that in the last couple days, and he's made quite a few good receptions so far. I think if we're doing winners and losers, I think he's one of the winners. Paul, ready to have your heart broken again. Bird Brain says, how about JJ chirped by a kid and melting down? I didn't see, was there something that JJ did when it happened? I mean, I did hear someone yelling at JJ McCarthy, not the thing that I would do if I went to a practice, probably be a little more respectful than that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't, if that impacted JJ McCarthy, then that's a pretty huge problem. I wouldn't expect that it would. Lucas, time to end the charade and give Kyler the snaps. Time to move on. I tend to agree. After today, I just don't think I have to see a whole heck of a lot more. Kyler Murray has been a starting quarterback in this league. He's had great moments. He's had great stretches in his career. If you go back and just search some date in late October 2024 and his name with MVP, they were like 6-2 and he was playing really well. And it's happened a few times in his career. You see the talent that he has. I wouldn't say that he has blown me away. Like, oh my gosh, this is the best quarterbacking I've ever seen. But it's been pretty consistent. He's been quick through his reads. He's been in command of the offense. The cadence is working. They got the snaps together. The ball's coming out of his hands when he's only escaped the pocket maybe 2 times and scrambled once or twice, and that's it in these padded practices. He's hit the deep balls. He's been on point with Justin Jefferson pretty much every day. Even there was a warm-up pass that he threw up over Jefferson's head that he caught today, just doing one-on-ones where you went, these are the balls that Jefferson is looking for, the big explosive plays that Kevin O'Connell is looking for. So, there's just been a lot of stuff with Kyler Murray that's looked like a starting NFL quarterback. Sneedley would take McCarthy as a backup on my team. I bet 20 or more teams would as well. I mean, when you look at his performance from last year, I would say that is not, if he was going to repeat it, because we haven't seen any progress. If he was going to repeat what he did last year, that's not really acceptable backup quarterback play. Like those numbers and the completion percentage, the touchdown to interception ratio, the sack, it's just not. In 2026, it's not above average backup quarterback play. That would still be based on potential. But as we go into these practices more and more and more, we can't just talk about like for this year only, not the long term, but we can't really talk about for this year only as the backup quarterback, the potential, if we're not actually seeing the potential. If we're not actually seeing it come into a quarterback who can operate and run the offense. What we saw from Carson Wentz last year, even though it was ugly, and even though the guy thought it was 2016 again with the way that he was scrambling around and getting hit and everything else at times, and some of the inaccurate throws from Carson Wentz, he was running the offense. So East Minnesota, Mark Jennings slated for the slot. You think the tight ends will be used more effectively like the Rudolph era? I mean, I think that it helps for him. I think it helps in the run game for Juwan Jennings to be in the slot. I don't know if it changes a ton with the tight ends. I haven't so far seen a lot of good TJ Hawkinson, at least so far. I mean, it's been more of the receivers as you've seen the downfield type of stuff. But, I don't know if it's going to help at all with the tight ends or if that has an impact necessarily. I just think that he's going to be a yards after catch option for JJ McCarthy or Kyler Murray. For Kyler Murray, I think he's going to be an underneath option for Kyler Murray to hit quickly and get rid of the football. And you get 10, 12 yards because this guy's carrying 2 safeties on his back. He is really big and he's really good at catching the ball. He had a drop or 2 early in camp and we're like, oh, what the heck? And then you see the strength in his hands and it's got soft hands for balls, dropping out of the sky. So, I mean, I think that Juwan Jennings is going to be a really good weapon for them. And he's started to come along the more camp has gone on. Dustin, making McCarthy worse looks bad for KOC. I mean, look, you're right that, you'd love to draft a quarterback and develop him. But this also is not an uncommon occurrence in the NFL. What's happened with JJ McCarthy? Look at different drafts throughout history. Go through every one. And you'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. I'll remember that guy. I mean, a lot of first round picks that just don't have it or don't work out. And I don't know if that's JJ yet, but it happens a lot. Abnormal? Do you think that the lack of confidence with JJ? I missed your question. I didn't get to it fast enough. I'm sorry about that. But the lack of confidence, I think, is probably resulting in hearing the footsteps, seeing the reps. But I also think like we could try to attribute confidence, or we could try to attribute just this is a quarterback who had to take really huge steps. I don't think that his camp's been a disaster, by the way. I just don't think it's been a lot different. It had to be huge steps to be in the conversation with a quarterback who's thrown 3,000 NFL passes. It really did, considering what the stakes are for this season. And it just has not been that, right, so far. But I do think that the confidence lately over the last few practices, I mean, it might be that you're starting to feel like it's going toward Kyler Murray. Chris, do you have any insight on what causes a quarterback to be a missile thrower like JJ versus a floater like Kyler? Well, I think that what Kyler is a 3-level thrower. Like, I think that he can float the ball. I think he can fire the ball. And I think he can do everything in between. I mean, truly, Kyler has been, I believe that it's DNA, that Kyler has been a great thrower of a football since he was a child. And his dad was a quarterback as well. I mean, I did the story on him and his high school career and how he was considered the best high school player ever in Texas. And my friend Bob Sturm was talking about, who does radio down there, was talking about how his radio station sponsored a little league team that had Kyler Murray on it. And they went to a game and he just blew past everyone and he could throw the football and he was like 8. I mean, I think that there's just something in there. He played baseball. You think about the number of reps that he's taken throwing in general, and think about how good of a technical thrower you have to be a first round major league prospect. Like the hand-eye coordination, I really think it's that. So if you are not the most natural thrower, like Kyler Murray is natural, out of the womb can throw a touch pass over the middle of the field, then I think that you have to really, really, really master the technique. And it does, just like golfing. I mean, it truly is like golfing. There are people that I have met in my life who are natural golfers, and if they'd never swung a club before, they could still take it from 100 yards out and drop it on the green because they just have some really great hand-eye coordination. And for me, I have good hand-eye coordination as a golfer, but I also know where I'm missing it, and it's in that consistency. So I feel it myself, and I think that if you're going to be a average hand-eye coordination with a ton of work, if I put 40 hours a week into golf, how good could I be? Well, I don't know. Maybe I could play around par. Maybe. I'd have no idea, but I'm never going to be 10 under. I know that. Doesn't matter if I took it as a full-time job, I would never be 10 under because I don't have it wired in. So that might be the case with McCarthy. It might be just technique. It might be just needs a lot more practice. And I also think too, because there's so many layers to this, that a major part of it is timing. And when you have a windup, this was kind of the Tim Tebow issue. When you have a longer windup, your timing, if you're going to be Drew Brees, who had a long windup, your timing has to be so good with the offense. And how do you get there? Thousands of reps. It's the only way to get there. So, I think that there is like a natural element to one-speed throwers. I mean, there are some in the league who have succeeded as one-speed throwers, but you have to kind of design your offense around that because you can only throw certain types of passes. So, it's hard because the explanation can be a lot of different things. Steven, Matt told us that in 2024, Darnold didn't start clicking in practice till late August. After the night practice, maybe McCarthy can have a Darnold. It's possible, and it could happen for McCarthy that his camps could get together. And I felt that it did last year. I didn't think that the start of training camp was all that good for JJ McCarthy. We weren't throwing out alarm bells because it was early, didn't have Justin Jefferson, and then it did come together later. In terms of the quarterback competition, And this is why, I'm never going to say it's over until it's actually over, because you can always have some sort of turnaround. But in terms of the actual quarterback competition, that's where Kevin O'Connell has to pull the chute probably pretty soon. Because if it's clear right now that Kyler Murray is far ahead of JJ McCarthy and the reps indicate it, not just the passes, then, well, McCarthy goes into backup mode and he goes into development mode, and you'd like to see the pressure kind of taken off and see where that goes for him, because they could still walk out of training camp feeling pretty good. But, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It's kind of up to JJ McCarthy, but that could still happen. There's enough camp left, but there's not enough camp left pretty soon to have a competition that isn't really anywhere close at this point. Jordan, he doesn't need to be out there. He can come in and play on a whim. I can safely bet if Kyler goes down, Wentz will play. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're right about if it happened today. I believe if it happened today, if they were playing a game tomorrow morning, then Carson Wentz would be QB2. I totally believe that, because he has the experience to come in and play at any time. He knows the offense. Yeah, absolutely. Vikings, TW, do you think the Eagles win their last Super Bowl with Kyler Murray? Probably, because of an outstanding team. It was an amazing team, and I don't know. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is a flawed and very good quarterback. I also think when you look at the quarterback tiers and you see all the quarterbacks who are in the third tier, like is Kyler Murray much different from Bo Nix? I don't think so. Scrambler, like Nix is very safe with the football, so that helps. But there is, the scrambling element, pretty accurate, but has not had huge passing numbers, and a great team around him makes all of the difference. That's a lot of times with quarterbacks who are in the third tier. That is how it goes. If you have a great team, if you have great weapons, if you have great coaching, you can win. And if you have mediocre, well, Arizona just has had bad. They've just been bad. Go look at the team, any area. They never had a Pro Bowler on offense on offensive line the entire time he was there. They had a decent couple years from James Conner, but they never had a good defense the entire time he was there. The receivers struggled. Greg Dortch might have been the most, reliable receiver after DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it does matter what type of team you could put around the guy. And we've seen this in camp. Remember, we went into this with people saying he can't throw deep balls. He really struggles with deep balls. He's hit a ton of them, but who's caught them? 18, right? So, we'll see how that plays out in the regular season, and it might be different, but it's probably not that big of a coincidence that when they had DeAndre Hopkins, they caught deep balls. And then when they didn't. When it was Andy Isabella and Greg Dortch, like these undersized wide receivers, or Marvin Harrison, whose contested catch rate was 42%. Justin Jefferson's is like 57% for his career. It's just different. It's just a different scenario. So I don't think that in, looking at Kyler as where it's headed and him potentially being the starting quarterback and named that fairly soon, I don't think that, it has to mean that we never hear the name JJ McCarthy again. But, I do think that as the summer goes along, that there is the potential to feel like coming out of this, that it could be a pretty darn good offense. I don't really have that feeling yet. I mean, not that it couldn't be. I don't have a definitive feeling yet. I feel I haven't seen enough of Kyler in the complete offense, because it's been the learning phase. This was the first practice that I would say, hey, this is real right here. What was happening today, that was real. And Kyler did well. And on Saturday with the no pads, he thrived. So we've seen a little bit of the high end, but I don't have a real feeling yet for how good this can get. As Steven mentioned earlier, it wasn't until later in camp. And I would say the same thing for Bradford. It started with Bradford truly in the night practice, but then there was another one where he was so good in a situational drill that he jumped on Mike Zimmer, and I thought that Zimmer's other eye was going to pop out. So, it does take the whole summer. There's a lot of practice left to go. A lot can change. It's just, this is where the trend is heading today. Sober Addict. I know I'm late, but does it sound... You're not late. I'm late to get to the chat every night. So But does it sound like there was a real competition here because this is the only second hard practice and both times Kyler got the majority of reps? I mean, they both got the equal number of passes, and pretty much through this entire training camp so far, all 7 days, they've gotten an equal number of chances to throw the football. And even if you're playing with the twos, I mean, that doesn't mean you're with bums. Like Ty Felton has been good. Jashawn Jones has been fine. You've got like Josh Oliver out there, and Gavin Bartholomew's been good. And these are NFL players, so you should look pretty on point. And Kyler's taken plenty of reps with the twos as well. Kyler's just been the better quarterback and was the vastly better quarterback on Saturday, which really made a big separation, I think, between the two. So is it a real competition? Yes, because if it wasn't, then look at how many passes Nick Mullins got per practice. Or last year, if Carson Wentz had been here, I guarantee you Carson Wentz is not getting 22 passes today. Like, they have given JJ McCarthy every opportunity to get ahead or stay equal. And if it was equal in their performance, in their knowledge of the offense, the timing, all those things the coaches are looking for, then the first team reps would have been a lot closer. But instead, they've leaned pretty heavily toward Kyler Murray because he came in as the better quarterback, who has played much, much better, much wildly better, higher ceiling in Kyler Murray's career at some points. And then he's also just shown a better aptitude for playing NFL football, which is kind of to be expected. Johnny says, JJ knows the offense, plus he's had 3 years to learn the system. It's troubling that he's still struggling with process in addition to inconsistency with accuracy. I tend to agree. I don't know that there's any other way to evaluate it other than it has been 3 years now, or 2 full years, 1 to learn it and 1 to play in it, and 1 off season to put a lot of effort into it. And when you see passes that go over the middle with just rockets and are behind, then you start to ask, is this going to change? And that's why I bring up other quarterbacks throughout history where it hasn't changed. But I also think that I'm not ready to get there yet. Like, the retrospective on JJ will probably happen, after Kyler is named the starter, but it's going to be kind of an ongoing what happened, right? And I know Barrero asked, like, who pushed the red button to draft JJ? And O'Connell talked around the question, which of course drew more attention to the entire issue, because had O'Connell said, yeah, I still believe in JJ. It was great to draft him and everything else. Like, if he had said that, it would be different than, well, we had to draft quarterback. It's just like everything's kind of pointing in a certain direction. It's on him to change it. He's the only one that can change it. But I think that this guy has felt a lot of the weight of failure in the NFL at the quarterback position, which is super, super hard to deal with mentally. And sometimes it takes time to get past that. Caleb, do we feel the Addison injury is contract related like Hawkinson's ear? I don't believe so. No. I mean, we're not at that point yet with Addison. Usually that would be next year, where you would get to the point where you would start having mysterious injuries and sitting out. This is not a sit out situation. It's only after his 3rd year. After his 4th year, that's where you can really start putting pressure on the team. Unless you are Justin Jefferson, who didn't do that, by the way, after his 3rd year. Portal Guardian says, I think Addison might have a huge year, especially with the fact that once plays break down, it takes a different skill set for a wide receiver to continue to get open. And Addison had that when he was with Caleb Williams. Now, that's an interesting thought. Everywhere that Jordan Addison has gone, he's made his quarterback better, except last year. He made Kenny Pickett a 1st-round pick. Caleb Williams played his best football with him. Kirk Cousins was awesome throwing to him. Sam Darnold was awesome throwing to him. This guy, he can play. He is a really, really good player. And I think that with Jordan Addison, it's going to work that way too. And I asked, with Kyler Murray and Jordan Addison, and I asked Addison about their workouts together, and he said that they were, putting together, here's the routes that we want to accomplish. I don't know if he used the word script, but I kind of took it that way. Like, would go out there with a script and go through it and try to master the offense. And this is the effort that Kyler put in. Like, you could see it. You could see it. The effort that he put in, whatever he did in 2020, I don't know, 2021, 2022. But if he wasn't putting in the effort, this is not a guy just figuring it out on the fly. He is playing on-time football a lot so far for the Vikings. Tyson, if you knew nothing about Demings other than the fact he's a rookie and you watch training camp, what round would you think he was drafted? Would you be calling for him to play? I wouldn't be calling for him to play over Isaiah Rodgers or Byron Murphy because those are veteran corners and they're good. Like Isaiah Rodgers is a good corner, but I probably would think he was better than James Pierre because the physical gifts are just there. I would probably say if you told me what because I have a good eye, I don't have this good of an eye. If you told me what the measurables were on his leaping ability and his speed and all that stuff, and then I saw the size and then I saw the cockiness, I would think that the guy went to Florida State and was a first or second round draft pick. Now, I know that that's a little on the hyperbolic side, but that's how he's performed. And he's gotten all these reps with the 2s and the 1s. That's what it's looked like. It's just that when Joker asks how many snaps he should be getting a game, the answer is probably 0 to start, and special teams and depth, and then let it work itself out. I mean, it's very exciting to have a player like this who shines right away in camp and is making plays and has got a big personality and is just showing it all. But, he's going to have to develop. He's going to have to learn. I just think there's starting potential there. There is real starting potential. It's just that he won't see snaps right away. And Brian Flores has never been afraid to develop these guys. When he developed Dallas Turner, people called him a bust the entire year. And it's like, I think Flores knows what he's doing. Jacoby Thomas, he's developing too. And we've seen a lot of development with him through this summer. But he's not competing with Theo Jackson necessarily just yet because there's development going on there. Jim says, does the pistol formation look like what we're seeing Kyler to do with Kyler or the run scheme? I think it's a little both. I mean, this is something that he is very familiar with, that he has been doing for a very, very long time in his life. And tomorrow, by the way, you're going to hear a 40-minute conversation with Chase Edmonds, former Kyler Murray teammate, Kyler Murray's friend that he's very close with, talk about his suggestions for Kevin O'Connell and the offense with Kyler. And one of the things he was talking about is building in some RPOs that have not really been a big part of what Kevin O'Connell has done, but also I'm sure that he's run across them before. And I think that with Kyler, it just makes you a little more multiple. If you could be in the pistol, if you can be in shotgun, if you can be under center, all those things give a lot of different looks, do a lot of different things to the defense to give them looks, but run or pass out of those looks. I think it's helpful. And other quarterbacks who have been here are not really pistol quarterbacks. So you have someone that has experience in it, use it. That's the way I would look at it. We love Judd's questions here on the show. Judd is the best. Yeah, we did work his question into the show. I try to. I go out of my way because Judd is a legendary question asker. Mike said, we try to be patient as ownership. Come on, that's embarrassing. He even knew it was false, so he hedged. Just say it with your chest that we only look at things 1 year at a time. There has been times, Mike, throughout. So I think that with that answer, with Kevin O'Connell as their coach and with a new general manager, if they like where O'Connell is at, which I get the sense that they very much do, that they are going to have patience and let Nolan Teasley build the roster and stay with Kevin O'Connell. This is what was sort of implied by this. But of course, if they go 3-14, then that goes out the window. But they have been a tad on the reactionary side, which I have been critical of. And it has felt like at times it's been a year-to-year type thing. And even firing Kwesi when they did seemed reactionary to, everyone in the building thinks that they need a new leader. Oh, okay. We'll fire Kwesi. I mean, even that feels pretty darn reactionary. And the timing that they did it was right after Sam Darnold reached the Super Bowl, which also, made it look like he was getting fired because of that. Over the years, reacting to the 2019 playoff win. Yeah, I mean, these things have definitely happened. Signing Cousins and bringing back Zimmer because they won a single playoff game. That was very reactionary. Yeah. And even having Sam melt down in the playoffs and then spending all the money in free agency, that was reactionary too. And while you can fire Kwesi for it, the owners do have the final say in things like that. So they also have to look themselves in the mirror with some of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's been a critique of mine over the years, that they have been a little bit like a shiny object sort of over here. Oh, yeah. Oh, we were actually good. Now what do we do? And I think with Nolan Teasley, you're looking for the process-oriented part of that to take over with him as the leader, to not be the person that's always overreacting. Jay says, Kyler Murray came in McCarthy's house, took off his cleats, and put his stankin' feet on the coffee table. I am the captain now. That's funny. I mean, I think, look, Kyler Murray, you have to understand that this is a guy who has been criticized and beaten down by media and blamed for everything that happened in Arizona time and time and time again, who thinks of himself as the number 1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, and the guy who had his team at 10-2 in 2021. That's who he thinks he is. That's the confidence that he carries himself with, and the standard that he has set for himself is like, this is from talking to people that know him and everything else. Like, Kyler Murray wants badly to make good on what he was supposed to be. And the competitiveness is very, very, very high with someone like Murray. I think that it's the perfect person to have in this situation. You have a desperate head coach for a playoff win. You have a desperate quarterback to prove everybody wrong. You have a desperate wide receiver to get back to 1,500 yards. You have a desperate offensive line to stay healthy and prove they can run block when they've been criticized for it for years. You have a defensive coordinator who's trying to show everybody every single play that he should be a head coach. There's a lot here. There's a lot of motivation here for the Minnesota Vikings, and Kyler Murray's at the top of that list. Judd was very blunt about asking the Wilson questions. What do you think about the questions as the way that he asked them is fine. Yeah, there's no problem with that. There's no problem with bluntness about asking about missing the playoffs. I don't have any issue with that. I thought that it was totally fine. And, I mean, Mark Wilf is very good at answering these questions, and I think giving a perspective without like giving you hyperbole or kind of going off on tangents or anything like that. He's just very direct about it, and the questions were very direct as well. But, when it comes to selling the team, it should be very happy for all of you to hear that that's not something they're going to do, or private equity or anything like that. We could talk about decisions of the past where they were reactionary or playoff wins or whatever else. But yeah, I don't think you can find too many better owners in the National Football League as a whole than the Wilfs. So good to hear that. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty direct press conference, but I don't think anything was out of bounds or it was uncomfortable. It was just that these are things that need to be asked. I mean, if you haven't made the playoffs or you haven't won a playoff game since 2019, that's a big question. How is that going to happen? So yeah. Autumn Voyage. I've heard Gavin's name more than TJ out of camp so far. TJ has not been as maybe involved as I thought he would be in a lot of the throws from Kyler Murray. Murray has been pushing it downfield a lot, which I think is kind of the intent of the play, and he's trying to follow through on the intent of the play. In real games, maybe there would have been some times where he would check it down, and Bartholomew's just gotten a ton of reps. I mean, they're really trying to ramp him up, get every look at him. Right now, he's tight end 3 with a bullet, I think, with the way that he's performed. But every day he's been making catches, but he's out there a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'll be curious to see with Hockenson if the chemistry starts to build up as the offense really starts to get into the nitty gritty, and that's within the next week or so. And then after the fans are not there anymore, then that's when they really start to install like the offense that they're going to use against the Green Bay Packers. But it has not been a camp through 7 days where I've said or written down TJ Hawkinson's name a lot. The Bronze Solo, actually excited about the quarterback room, 3 first-round picks two of them lifelong Vikings fans. It's going to be a fun season. How dare you, the Bron Solo, not say that the sky is falling for some reason or another. Yeah, I think I remember when Dane Mizutani and I were talking about this when Kyler Murray signed, where I said to Dane, what do you think the fans are going to say? How do you think the fans are going to react to the Vikings signing a real starting quarterback? And what he said was that throughout the spring, after they've done it, and we don't really get the greatest look at these guys in minicamp, that there would be a lot of hesitation on Kyler Murray. And then as the season went along and the really good throws leaked out of training camp and people started seeing what he really looks like and seeing him scramble and throw and make plays, and then once he really gets on the field, if, of course, he succeeds early in the season, but there will be more ramping up of fan belief in this season and intrigue and excitement about this particular season because they have a lot of the other stuff. And I think what's playing into that too is that the draft class looks good. Banks will see, Orange will see, but Golday has been really, really strong. Demings has been the star of training camp, hands down. And Bredesen is out there a lot and looks like he's going to play a role in this thing. So there's been a draft class, and not just that, but some other young players like Zamiah Vaughn has shown up from last year, Levi Drake Rodriguez, because obviously Kwesi could draft. I mean, that's kind of funny, right? Like some of these players that are starting to show up, some of them are Kwesi draft picks, but truly though, like the Donovan Jackson in the next season and the health of the offensive line, but some of the younger players from the last 3 draft classes and so forth, it's not just, the quarterback position. It's that you're seeing the offense supposed to look like it's supposed to look. You're seeing younger players emerge. And then I said to Dane, I hope you guys caught it the other day, but if you didn't, I'll say it to you. Are the Minnesota Vikings kind of young right now? Like not in some ways, but in other ways they are. Jordan Mason is like 27, so he's kind of on the cusp there. But when you hear like a Bartholomew is doing well and a Donovan Jackson is coming along, and you have still Jordan Addison is having a very good camp so far before the thumb injury. And is he going to turn a corner here where we feel like this is really the Jordan Addison that we've been looking for? And then on the defensive side, there's a lot of young talent. On the defensive line, it's all young players, except for really just Andrew Van Ginkel. There's a lot of young talent there. And then some intrigue in the linebacker room with Jake Golday. They're not really, really super young. They have a lot of veterans that are majorly important to this team. But I think that it's the first time in quite a long time that they have more than just a couple of players that are under the age of 25 that we're looking at going, okay, like recent draft picks and undrafted free agents has been a thing sometimes, but guys that are clearly emerging out on the field that are carrying some intrigue. So I think that plays into it, that there's going to be some excitement that builds once people see some preseason action. And also like we're covering the heck out of every single one of these practices, but the things will get more serious when there's real football that's about to happen as well. That's, when everybody is not just doing fantasy drafts and so forth. Sober Addict. I know that you guys are kind of going after each other in the comment section a little bit, but when it comes to there are some people who will take an approach, and a lot of times it's people who've been around watching the team for a really long time, of they're going to break my heart at the end of the season. They're definitely going to let us down, or they're going to pay Kyler Murray too much money and screw us over for the rest of the future. And like, look, there's 32 teams. A lot of stuff has to happen for you to win and so forth. I just think that that's a really hard way to approach football. I mean, think of the 2024 season and how those people were right. But I said at the end of the year, I remember saying in the press box in Glendale, Arizona, after the Vikings lost to the Rams, I remember saying on the live stream, like, you got what you wanted. How does it feel? I mean, because there were so many people that just banged the drum through the entire year. Darnold's going to let us down. The team's going to let us down. And you know what? A lot of people get let down at the end of the year. I just can't look at football that way. I feel like I enjoy the sport too much. I enjoy the journey of seasons too much to look at it and just now on August 5th, when Murray has maybe gotten an edge here in the quarterback competition, to already be simulating in my brain to the bad thing that's going to happen in January. It's like, I just can't do that. I just enjoy this too much. Bass Pundit says patience is not infinite, but coaching is 5% of the problem and 95% of what's right. Where will those percentages trend this year? I do believe in what you're saying, that the coaching is more of a solution than a problem. When it comes to game planning, do you go into battle with an offensive and defensive coordinator who can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league? I think the answer is yes. I think when it comes to one big, huge, bad mistake decision that will not stop lingering over this team for a very, very, very long time unless they win the Super Bowl, that's always going to play into how we look at O'Connell, is JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold, and so forth. But when we talk about the actual coaching of game days, how do they perform? How have they been when they had good quarterback play? They win a lot of football games when they do. And I think around the league, there's a lot of belief that this team, if they get the quarterback play they're looking for, will be dangerous. So yeah, when it feels like you have good enough coaching to compete for a championship every time you have the good enough personnel, that to me is where you don't make a move unless it turns into some sort of disaster. If it turns into some sort of, circus or whatever, it's just hard to see under O'Connell. Like last year had circus potential. Last year teetered on circus at times, but it never got there, and the players never gave up on him. So I look at that and what the veteran players' opinions of O'Connell are as being weighted very heavily in how you decide how to go forward, because there's so many coaches in the league who have been hired and fired really quickly who cannot handle all of this stuff. We see it constantly. So I always think if you get a coach who can, under the right circumstances with the roster, get you to division championships and go into the playoffs with a real chance, then that's somebody I would not throw over the side of the boat unless you are really hitting rock bottom. Norse Force, what happened to Jacoby Thomas and Dylan Bell? Are they hurt? Jacoby's played a ton of reps with the second team. I haven't seen any big plays that he's made, but he's out there. Looks like he's calling the defense. I can't 100% hear from where I'm standing if he's the one that's shouting out the defense on the second team. Dylan Bell just hasn't really emerged, but he also hasn't really had a chance to quite yet. That's going to be a preseason thing because he's farther down on the roster. Jarrett, did anything change your opinion of Claiborne making the roster, as it sounds like he had a very rough day? I don't know if I would call it a very rough day. Like, the defensive line has been very good so far, and there were a few runs that caught my eye. I had him in my notes of a few runs that caught my eye for Claiborne. I wouldn't describe it as a very rough day. I mean, there were a couple times where, the runs get blown up pretty quickly, and that's kind of it. But there were other ones where I saw some of his skill. But after one practice where he actually got a chance, I would not be making a real assessment. I'd like to see a lot more from Claiborne. And he did have a couple of, he had a drop today. That might be something that people pointed out. He's dropped a couple of passes so far. That's kind of concerning that he hasn't been able to bring the ball in. But no, I mean, I've always looked at Damon Claiborne like 6th round draft pick who is a very raw player out of Wake Forest. That is not the Minnesota Vikings. So give it time. See if he can work in on special teams. See if he can work into certain package or situation, and then go from there. But for me, the 3 running backs are right now Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, and Xavier Scott. And then we'll see on the development of Claiborne. I'm more patient sometimes. Jim, the FanDuel answer is 95% Kyler. It will be McCarthy. Time to learn as a backup and compete for quarterback too. So here was the FanDuel question of the day. It was that Kyler Murray's plus 600 to win comeback player of the year, which is interesting for this year. And I wanted to know that if he gets named quarterback soon, starting quarterback, then what do you want to see from him for the rest of camp? And Jim is saying, just give him all the reps, basically 95% of the reps, and McCarthy's got to work on it kind of himself. So, yeah. Tom, any Hecker and Thorson info the last couple days? There has been, I don't even know if the team has a special teams. No, I'm kidding. They've been doing punting, but that's a game thing. It's just much more of a game thing. And I don't really think it's a punt off. I think Hecker's the punter and Thorson is going to be the international exception player, and that's a lot because Will Riker needs somebody who's really good at holding. And I don't know that Thorson's ever held in his career before. So you got to go with someone who's done it and is good at it. But when I watch them punt, it would be asking a lot for me to be able to say, oh, I mean, Ryan Wright could kick the ball so far that he would catch your eye. I haven't seen that from Thorson yet. Because there were a couple times where I haven't been, because the quarterback thing is so important, I haven't been moseying around. Like when Kirk was the quarterback, I'd mosey around. Like, it's Kirk. Like, let me go watch the offensive lineman. Let me go. And I'll do this once Kyler gets named starting quarterback. If he does, then I will probably try to take a look at like more stuff that's going on. But there were times where I stood behind Ryan Wright where I was like, did a bomb just go off? The guy kicked it so hard. So we'll see. But I think it's more of like, we'll get a real look at it, how he does in the preseason. Jay Gonzalez, you listen to the live every day. Thank you. Well, where you been, Jay? I'd love to have more questions from you. Do you think that KOC is capable of just sticking to the run if it's working? I don't really know. Not yet, because he has to prove that. I do think, though, that last year was demonstrative to him that he can and it can work. And that being hyper-focused on the actual game you're playing that day is very important for coaches. Because when you're looking at total efficiency, Kevin O'Connell's right, man. The chances that you get points when you get an explosive play are very high. If you get an explosive pass play, your chances of scoring are through the roof, right? And that's very true. So you should keep passing, right? Well, if that day the opposing team's quarterback is struggling so much with Brian Flores and your quarterback is having a tough time and you're getting successful runs, like, I think that there was a little bit of a light that went on, and maybe some of this is the emphasis, so much emphasis on running the ball better this year for Kevin O'Connell that, yeah, sometimes we got to win in a different way than I want to win. And that's what I've always liked about Clint Kubiak and Gary Kubiak and that whole deal, like the way they do it with the run game. It's like sometimes you just win that way. Robert, do you think any particular weakness to Kyler's game that KOC is concentrating on? I think what you're trying to do with Kyler, because you're not developing Kyler in any way, shape, or form. Like, this is just, he's been in the league for long enough. What you're trying to do is you're trying to focus on the things that he does well, and you're trying to avoid the things he doesn't, which is pretty simple. But with Murray, watching his tape, there are things that he does throwing the football that are exceptional that we've seen out here. And throwing it with touch is one of them. Just exceptional touch on the football, exceptional accuracy, exceptional when he's got a quick out, which they did all the time in Arizona. And they got criticized for doing it a lot, but it's like, that's one of Kyler's best passes. Catch the ball, bang. And he's done it a bunch of times with Justin Jefferson so far and Jordan Addison. Bang, 5-7 yards, completion, off you go. But there are going to be times where over the middle of the field, it's a little bit tougher to see. I think there's probably a lot of details of certain things that they've identified when they were signing him of, all right, well, this is what we're going to try to avoid. This is what we're going to try to work around. If you have Matthew Stafford, every single thing is on the table. What do you want to try today? This guy can do anything. If you have Peyton Manning, it's probably everything is on the table, or some of the great quarterbacks, maybe even Drake May, because he's so tall and strong and everything. Kyler, there's going to be things that you got to cross out. That's the way I would look at it. You have to mitigate those things rather than try to like improve them on the fly. You only have a handful of practices. I think it's about mitigating them. Somebody said that Judd and I have different view of how the practices have gone. That can't be true, since I had a 10-minute conversation with Judd as we both walked off the field together today. Eric, at the risk of derailing quarterback freakouts, I don't feel like too many people are freaking out, just one or two. What did the D-line rotation look like, especially Orange and Banks? So Orange and Banks didn't play a ton today. Orange was not playing with the other day when they put on pads. So he only got a couple of reps. And Banks worked in with both the first and second team, rotating in a little bit, but it was only a couple snaps here, a couple snaps there. So I looked at him a couple of times, didn't see any big plays that stood out to me. I think he's just getting his feet wet, but we were seeing a lot of, we have Tyron Dawkins out there. He's playing defensive end and he's playing outside linebacker, but a lot of Jalen Redmond, a lot of LDR, a lot of Elijah Williams today, who I highlighted. I think he looked really good today, and I don't know, they may have found a rotational player there with him as well. So those guys were getting more work. Eric Johnson and Isaiah Loudermilk, I mean, they were kind of using everybody today along the defensive line, but I haven't yet seen either young player wow, but they're just getting started. So Palm Tree Yeti, what are the odds that this team will be fun to watch? Last year, they will be brutal to watch. Yeah. I think that I would go, based on what we've seen so far, the connection between Murray and Justin Jefferson, I would probably go 65% chance that they're really fun to watch. And the 35% chance would be that they're just frustrating to watch, maybe a day late, dollar short. I think that could happen in a tough division like this. And the other part would be if someone gets hurt, that, you know, you're down to Carson Wentz, and we pretty much in any NFL city where the starting quarterback's not playing, it's not any fun. So I think that those two things are on the table, but Kyler scrambling is exciting, and Kyler throwing to Justin Jefferson is exciting. Flores defense is exciting. I mean, I am projecting much more of a 2022 like season, but not every single time the last second drive works. That's what I'm predicting right now. Now we're 7 practices in. Maybe I'll feel different in a couple weeks, but I think there's going to be a lot of games where it comes down to final drives. Here's Kyler's got to go figure out a way to, you know, to win it at the end or something like that, or they got to get a final stop. That's the type of team this kind of plays out, at least how I look at it right now. Good to see Felton worked on his ball spin. Yeah, I haven't noticed his celebrations. I usually am looking down and writing down what happened on the play. Boxcar, keep JJ as QB 2 or 3. We need depth. Well, I agree with that. I mean, I've never been in favor of just getting rid of him. I have not, even if the camp continues to go this way, I've never been in favor of that. No, unfortunately, I do not know what it means, and hopefully that wasn't something ridiculous. Yeah, I know Chuck Foreman was technically a fullback. Back to that fullback conversation. Tony Richardson is a great name. Charles Evans, thank you, Dustin. That's who I was looking for. I was looking for Charles Evans, the classic fullback from the Vikings from the 90s. Great pull there. Let me just get you a quick update from our sponsor, and then we'll get back to some more of your comments, and then we'll probably call it a night at about 9:30. I could go probably a little bit farther than that into the evening, but got some writing to do as well over at purpleinsider.football. Hey, I wrote about Bo Richter today. So if you don't go sign up at purpleinsider.football and read about Bo Richter, what the heck is wrong with you? And if you missed my conversation with Andrew DePaula yesterday, it was great stuff. It's up on YouTube now as well. So let me remind you, though, of my friends at Brooklyn Betting. You know why they're my friends? Is because my back feels better. I'm sleeping better. I mean, look how late at night it is and all the energy that I have. That's because of the new mattress I got from Brooklyn Betting. And the main thing is that it feels really well crafted. That's the biggest thing for me. It's not mass produced, disposable, some just big chunk of foam that you're going to use for a couple of months and then it's just going to turn lumpy. Like, this thing is built to last, and that type of craftsmanship, it's built in the USA, is exactly what I was looking for. The mattress that we got is called the Aurora Luxe, which sounds super classy, and it is. And the spine feels good. It's just been great nights of sleep. Wake up with plenty of energy every morning. And what I like about Brooklyn Betting is that we got exactly what we wanted. Was not one size fit all. Oh, you just take this mattress, whatever. No, lots of sleep style and the shape and the size and all that stuff that you're looking for. They were able to help us with. And if we didn't like what we got, then there was also a 120-night comfort trial where if we didn't like it, then we could swap it or return the mattress hassle-free. So go to brooklynbetting.com, use my promo code PURPLE, 30% off site-wide in their back-to-school sale. That is brooklynbetting.com with the promo code PURPLE for 30% off site-wide. And when you have a sponsor like that goes the extra mile, gets us the mattress, gets us the one we want, it makes me feel really, really appreciated. And if you are a hiring manager, then you are looking for people who want to go the extra step to leave a positive impression like that. And you want to use ZipRecruiter to find those people. So you want to try ZipRecruiter right now at ziprecruiter.com/audio. They have a new feature that shows you the most interested and qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. They have powerful matching technology that gets the qualified candidates quickly and has them describe in their own words why they're interested in your job. So try ZipRecruiter today. Meet great candidates who will go the extra step for you. 4 out of every 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate in the first day. Try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. That is ziprecruiter.com/audio. All right, back to the chat. I love seeing the first thing when I flip back to the chat is Tony Richardson. That just gives me joy. Great player. Let's see. Jarrett says it feels like a long time since the Vikings had a rookie class with this much potential. If everything goes right, we should be happy that Rob B is still around and Nolan with all he brings. Look, Rob Brzezinski did a great job with this offseason. I really think that the salary cap situation is good. They were able to re-sign Brian O'Neill at a very reasonable price. They have $20 million in cap space if they want to go out into the free agent markets to sign an outside linebacker, if they want to make a big trade at the trade deadline. When Rob Brzezinski said, keep the powder dry, he was very, very smart, I think, in planning out ahead of like, hey, we could get a Jawan Jennings, and then they were able to do that. And there might be another player that comes up. And then the draft, it sounds like to me, just from what's been presented, that Rob Brzezinski let people do their jobs. The scouts gathering the players, the coaches looking at which guys were best fits, the coaches doing a lot of traveling, getting to know guys. And when there's so much buy-in from the coaches, this is something Teasley should remember as he goes into next year's draft. If you got that kind of buy-in from the coaches on the players you present to them, you got a good chance to hit. So, Steven, yeah, you're right. Demings did stand out at the Senior Bowl. Nate, how ironic would it be if Rob hit on multiple home runs and then we skip him for the GM job? Well, luckily he's still around, so he could talk about that. I wouldn't be shocked if they hit on a couple. They were also due. They were certainly due with the way the drafting went. But you know what I'm going to snark? Every time this draft class comes up, I'm going to be like, well, it's good to have draft picks, is it not? That's what happens when you have draft capital, is it not? I got to take a closer look at Caleb Tiernan to see how he's doing. Jarrett, let's see. Let me mosey on down here. Mike, I don't think JJ McCarthy's processing is fixable at this point, and it's year 3, still seeing ghosts in practice, and we know that his practice performance far exceeds what he does in games. Or sometimes it does, or sometimes it looks exactly like it. It's concerning. I would put it under, it's pretty darn concerning. Like, you know how you like to use the meters and everything? If we were going concern meter about the chances of McCarthy becoming the starting quarterback here, not just this year, but ever, or somewhere in the league ever, based on history and the numbers that he put up for last year, it's in the orange teetering on the red. It's probably in the red, actually. It's definitely in the red. Is it blowing up the machine? Not yet, but it's in the red. That's kind of where we're at right now. Expose. Like we said about the idea of trading JJ to Arizona, what would a package even look like for a QB on his rookie contract, even if he hasn't played well? I think we know. It's Trey Lance. Trey Lance set the market for that. It's a 4th round draft pick. And it doesn't really sound that exciting, but there's not too many teams that are lining up for someone who's played like that and then loses a quarterback competition. That would be my guess, though. And Trey Lance is kind of a comp, somebody who didn't play much football in college. It was all about tools. It was all about the guy, and just couldn't really see it well enough. Couldn't make it work at the NFL speed. As of this moment, that's kind of where he is. But we do have that comparison. It is not, Max, it was not pre-recorded, no. This is live, my friend. I'm just way behind in the chat, unfortunately. I try, but you guys, there's a lot of you, which is amazing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate the respectful chat and all of the people who have tuned into every one of these things. And guess what? So tomorrow's the day off, but I'm going to have 2 more podcasts for you tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're back. And then Saturday, or wait, was it Friday, Saturday? Yeah, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, right after the night practice, as soon as it's done, I will jump in my car, run back here, and break it down. So hopefully the quarterback competition is over by then, because I won't have my charts. I'll have all my info, but I won't have my charts done. They take a little while after practice. But I'll run right back and do the best I can. Maybe I can plug them in during practice. We'll see. Because usually during the night practice, I'm working out my details with you guys here on the show. But usually during the night practice, we could sit up in the press box, which is amazing to be able to see the practice from up top. And I could bring my laptop out there and do it. Maybe. I'll try. I'll try my best. The challenge, Jared says the challenge with McCarthy is it's obvious that he'll never be a franchise quarterback. His best case appears to be mid-tier level. That is probably true. Just based on history. Oh yeah, Claiborne, the drops. Yeah, that's what you're talking about with the drops for Damon Claiborne. Yes, the drops have been an issue. Yeah, I agree with that. When you're talking about him not having a good practice, I thought the running was okay, if not kind of intriguing at times. But when we're talking about the historically speaking, if you go back and went through every newspaper article all the way through, the last 20 years of first round quarterbacks that didn't work out. Year 3, what were they saying in practice midway through training camp? It was probably similar to this. It was probably someone else is taking over as the quarterback. It's probably, there doesn't look like there's a whole heck of a lot of progress. The confidence is waning. It looks like this. There's time, but this is kind of how it looks. Who was it? Bumaclot said Pace and Adams will make the team. I think that's probably true. I'm interested to see if Jamal Adams actually does make the team, but he's been the second team linebacker. He just got here. Pace is a special teamer. They need to keep, I think, extra linebackers for sure. Holder competition is funny. Jim might be fandom, but can you see the Vikings D-line being elite, but not top 3 in the league? Elite would be hard because there is not a guy right now. The guy could be Caleb Banks, but not right now who you would be saying, whoa, that guy is super dominant. You can't have a top 5 or elite defensive line unless you have one guy who can just take over games, because a lot of teams do have that. Jalen Carter, Dexter Lawrence, players like that. And the Vikings currently do not, but that's why they drafted Caleb Banks. Now, could it be deep and solid? That I would say is possible. From what I've seen so far, that I would say is possible. But it's one really intense practice. I don't want to get too far ahead in saying that. I just really like the development of Levi Drake Rodriguez. Really like some things I saw out of Elijah Williams today. They're starting to catch my eye for sure. Achilles, we need to trade Hawkinson for a 3rd round pick. Well, no one's giving you a 3rd round pick, I don't think, at this point. And I also don't think you need to be making trades if you're the Vikings and giving away players. You brought him back for a reason, and see where it goes. Yep, this will likely be the last season. How do I become the leadoff hitter for asking a question? It's usually just the first person who shouts something out. So sometimes it's me. I have a real thing with awkwardness. I really struggle with awkwardness. And when someone's like, okay, questions, they look around. My brain just fires. I better, whatever question I had in mind, I better go. Cause I can't stand the idea of us all standing around staring at each other. so I just can't, it's too uncomfortable for me. So I just have to blurt out a question. That's how I often become first, but I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is. Someone's going to have to keep data on that. Bumaclot, how has Miles Price looked? He has high potential on special teams. Yeah, he's been a wide receiver a lot. I have liked some of the things that he's done with getting open and he has dropped a couple of passes. I don't think he's the most natural receiver. He kind of looks more like a running back in his body type, but he's getting opportunities to be a wide receiver. And obviously on special teams, we know what he could do. I don't think we're learning that, but I need to see more from him as a wide receiver to be really convinced he's wide receiver 5. But, you know, because I mean, right now, Deshaun Jones, he'll be on special teams for sure. It's just that I think that as a wide receiver, you're probably not going to want to have him in too much right now, unless he continues to make progress through the season. Justin, I know the other day you mentioned you think Xavier Scott is RB3 if they did a depth chart right now, but had Claiborne shown enough that they'd keep 4 running backs? I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think with Claiborne, especially with kick return, he's a guy you definitely want to keep 4 running backs in Bredesen. That's how I view it right now. I wouldn't want to cut someone with that type of speed and skill because he might actually be a guy that someone else would pick up. There's not too much poaching in the NFL these days, but if you drop somebody with a 4.37, if he does anything in preseason, I think that you want to keep him on your roster as part of the 53 and then just see where it goes. But, you know, it's only been one competitive practice for him so far, and we'll see more of the summer where he's going to actually fit in. I just think that Xavier is a man. Like, he's a grown player. I think he's 27 years old or 26 years old, and he's 225 pounds. Like, he's a big guy who can block and catch the ball as a former receiver. Those things, with some NFL experience, the moment wasn't too big for him, I think would put him ahead of Claiborne. That doesn't mean Claiborne's not still exciting. Bumaclad, I agree. If Ty Felton had a Naylor-esque career, that would be a win for a late 3rd round draft pick. And we're kind of seeing some of those things with his long speed. I think that they might want to use him there. Joker, as Kyler Murray's ball floats through the air, I can't help but think about Sam Darnold and how there's not many good starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and we let one of those guys go. Yeah, we'll have to let it go someday. Not soon, because they still talk about the Herschel Walker trade, and I think that was probably worse, letting the Super Bowl quarterback go. But, I mean, his ball does float through the air, but I also think that it's like accurate, and you can succeed with this quarterback playing for you. But if you were to design in a lab a quarterback for Kevin O'Connell's throws for his offense, Sam Darnold is it, and we saw every single one of them. That's what makes this so tough to get over. For me and for you guys, because Darnold really did have the goods to make all those throws, and he showed it so many times during the season, and they saw 2 bad games, and they just moved on. Felton looks like the real thing. I think they have the best wide receiver room in the NFL. I think so too. I think it's really close, probably, with a couple other teams, but maybe the deepest. LD, would you pick Mullins or JJ? If I had to win one game today, I'd go Nick Mullins. He played better. And he got the ball to Justin Jefferson. Pluto, JJ's a thrower. Kyler's a passer. Yeah, Kyler is a very pure passer. Yep. Eric was wrong about Darnold, tried to avoid the quarterback stuff, but I'm interested in seeing Kyler. I mean, you got to shake it off, as Vikings fans have done so many times, and move forward. But I mean, I really think you are talking about a guy who's not even in his 30s yet, who has played with a really bad organization, who's got a lot of talent, and can be a lot of fun to watch. You're just going to have to give it a chance. I remember when we had this conversation with Sam Darnold, and he was way worse when he arrived to Minnesota with his past career than Kyler Murray's been. Kyler Murray's been pretty good. This year was the lowest he's been in the quarterback tiers at 23rd, and he has been as high as, I think, 10th, which I'm going to do my interview with Mike Sando tomorrow, and then you'll see it on Thursday, probably evening. And also my conversation with former Cardinal Chase Edmonds, which is incredible. Him talking about Kyler Murray. So my timing's good. Make sure you check those things out tomorrow. And I'm going to have a rest, I think. But in my Aurora Lux, when it comes to the just like excitement level for Kyler or whatever it might be, or how this might fit, I mean, I think the potential is there for it to be a very fun NFL season, a very competitive NFL season, and a chance to get to the playoffs. That's the high end of it. And then who the heck knows where it goes from there. They've got the coaching on both sides. They've got a lot of talent, got a lot of guys who are still here. They've been healthy so far. We'll see. But Kyler gives you a chance to have a fun and competitive season and then be in a position to be talking about, well, if they miss this playoff game, how are you going to feel about it and everything else? But at least from what we've seen so far in training camp, at least gives you that chance. Is it mind-blowingly good through 7 days? No, I wouldn't say that. But there's been a lot of plays to Justin Jefferson, and that's, to me, always the thing I'm looking at the most. Joker, if the goal is winning, is Wentz better than McCarthy for the scout team? Probably. Yeah, I would say so. I would say Wentz is about as good of a scout team quarterback as you could ever find. So that might be part of the equation. It might be. This 86 me, I'm seriously tired of quarterback from another team. Can we please just draft and develop our own, for God's sake? Look, not today you can't. So look, this is what I don't understand from some folks. This type of comment, like, I get it. I get where you're coming from. The goal is to someday draft a quarterback and have that guy be Drake May. And it's just 10 years of taking swings at trying to win a Super Bowl around that franchise quarterback. That's what they tried to do so far to this moment. It has not worked out. And the next best option is the Sam Darnold, which is what Seattle did, and it's what Minnesota did, and it's what Baker Mayfield in Tampa. That's the next best option, is a really talented quarterback that some other franchise threw out because they screwed up or they're not that great. And that's what you have. So for today, that's your best option. Is it better down the road to be looking at how they can draft a long-term franchise quarterback? Probably, but I also like to give Kyler Murray a chance to see what he can do here before we get into why we draft. The draft is in April. I mean, so how about the chat stays where our feet are, huh? How about we do that? How about we stay where our feet are? That's what we should do. Arizona, you're right. Kurt Warner, the Giants got rid of Kurt Warner and he went to the Super Bowl eventually. Probably maybe a little better than Kyler Murray. Got to see if I could get Kurt on the show. He was so nice to me last summer when I did the article with him, which was about throwing, by the way. And yeah, sore subject at the moment. But I haven't reached out to him much because it's like such a cool guy, Kurt Warner, that I don't want to bug him. But I'd love to get him on the show sometime. So maybe I'll try. We went over this last night, Phenom, about paying Kyler Murray. Let's stay where our feet are, guys. I'm going to say this to you a million times. There isn't a single quarterback in the National Football League who's making a $50 million cap hit this year. So when you say $50 million a year, I absolutely guarantee you that if they sign Kyler Murray after this season, it will not be a $50 million cap hit. Not if there's no other quarterbacks, not Josh Allen, not Patrick Mahomes, not Matthew Stafford, not Lamar Jackson. Go look it up. Overthecap.com. Not a single guy has a $50 million cap hit. So that's not happening. Their lives will not be over, especially with all the draft picks that they've had, the younger players they brought in over the last year here, some guys that have developed. Like, I promise you, they can work with a contract if they need to, as so many teams have. And what did I say? It was like 6 out of 7 last year in the playoffs. The NFC have signed their quarterbacks. So it's not the panic. Be where our feet are, guys. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about August 5th. Let's talk about August 6th, 7th, 8th, not January, not the draft of next year. Let's try to stay focused on the 2026 National Football League Vikings. We'll try to stay focused. That should be everybody's goal, is try to stay focused. There you go. Abnormal. You just stay focused on a current worry, which was Brandel at center, which I think is totally fair, to be honest with you. I mean, it's only a couple days, and I'm saying Levi Drake's been great, which may mean that Brandel hasn't been great, but I don't really know. And I'm not going to say that I can see well enough where I am standing to go, the center on this play, did this block and turned this way and did that. I mean, that would be very hard to do if I had the all 22 and was able to rewind it, but you get one look at these plays. I think that it's a concern in that he hasn't played 17 games there. And does he have the physical talent to be a plus center That I don't know, but I also don't know like what the other option was for this year. I think they went with the best option that everybody in the room seems to trust. But it's a concern until it's not, really. 101 Yak, what about Bartholomew? I didn't see him as much today. May have made a catch today, but he's just had a great camp so far. He's had a really, really good camp. I have him tight end 3 right now with the potential to actually be in some games at this moment. He has the best haircut. Oh, I haven't taken a look close at him without the helmet on. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. Okay, some of you guys are a little aggressive in how many messages you're sending. Joker, has there been a change to the 2027 quarterback pie chart? No, I don't think so. I mean, at this moment, I would have had, no matter what, I don't remember my last pie chart, but you would have had JJ McCarthy at a very low chance and probably another quarterback from another veteran. And I mean, I think Kyler Murray, another veteran, and a draft pick are all 33% for next year, if that was the only pie chart and McCarthy wasn't included. But I mean, McCarthy has to be included somewhere as maybe down to like 5 or 10% at this moment. But you never know. You never knew where it can go from there. Mr. Mayor, let me make this the last one. I know that a lot of you have left comments and I'm trying to go fast. I'll speed it up when I don't have, when the quarterback is named and I don't have to break down each guy's full training camp practice, then I'll speed it up and I won't get as far behind, I promise. And we'll just probably, try to be a little more diligent in, muting some folks who take over the chat. But anyway, but you guys have been great tonight. Is it weird that one of the big talking points about McCarthy before the draft was mental health and we immediately stopped talking about it? It feels like he gets in his head and struggles with it. Well, that's the tough thing about something like that. I don't really like to get deep into people's heads and say your mental health is a problem and you're mentally soft or something like that. I just don't feel confident in saying something like that. I mean, athletes have talked about mental health a lot in the last 5 years, and I think they should. And I think that societally, we should be very happy about the amount of public figures who have come out and said, hey man, if you're having some problems, then go see somebody, work on it. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Mental health is health, that kind of thing. So I'm always appreciative when people are open and honest about that stuff. And, I think youth is part of it for McCarthy. There's a bunch of different things. In order to be a successful quarterback in the NFL, you have to walk this very narrow tightrope of normally being at a certain physical level and then having this matrix brain and then having crazy work ethic and having crazy hand-eye coordination. And sometimes random quarterbacks that we never expect, like Brock Purdy, have a lot of these things that just translate to the NFL that you wouldn't have had any expectation of that working. It's just like a lot of these things with the quarterback position are absolutely impossible to figure out and diagnose why something worked or why it didn't. And that's what makes it so fascinating for football, and circumstances play into it and an injury plays into it and all those things that I can't just say, oh, it's this one thing. And that's really the explanation. So, Jared, you're glad to hear about the pistol formation. It's good to know. Florida Refugee says, thanks for the level-headed data points on Murray. That's absolutely what I'm trying to go for as best as I possibly can, is to track every single throw and look at what I got at the end of the day. I don't think about it throughout the practice of what the totality is. I just go, there's a pass, there's what it went, there's what happened, there's my note on it, and then off I go to the next pass. And this is what we've come up with. And the first team reps have really told the story here. Abnormal says, I get being a pessimist Vikings fan, but rejecting logical discussion before the season in order to do so is crazy. I agree with you. Yeah, I think that the people who, how in the world could you see Case Keenum do what he did, the Minneapolis Miracle, all the stuff since I've been here with the Minnesota Vikings, all the stuff that I've seen, and think we have any ability to predict what's coming next. So, but I will predict that we're going to get a quarterback solidified fairly soon after today. Anyway, great show tonight, guys. Great chat. Really, really appreciate all of you so much. And all the great questions about the entire roster. And, there will be a day after we've kind of got to the end of camp where we'll make it big picture day. We'll do it that way. And we'll talk about the big picture on everything and how we see the next 3 years, the timeline based on all the things we've seen and Nolan Teasley and all that stuff. But for now, there's so much intrigue going on. There's a preseason game coming up. There's a night practice coming up, and there's lots of things being said out at TCO Performance Center. We're learning from every day. I'm trying to keep it focused, and we'll see where it goes from here. But thanks everybody. Great conversation. And how'd I do today? I don't look too cooked today. I reapplied the sunscreen. That was the key. All right. Thanks everybody as always. And we'll talk to you very soon. Football.